So just like with any function, we don't have to graph it to be able to identify like the key pieces of that function or that parabola. So for number 3, it wants us to identify the x-intercepts and where the axis of symmetry would be if we were to graph it. So the x-intercepts, I said, are really given to us and we can just kind of pull them out. So like if we look at B, even though there's not a number inside there with that x, we can always put a plus or minus 0. That won't change the value of anything. So our two x-intercepts are going to be 0 and -8. Remember, yes, it's a plus 8 in the equation, but the actual x-intercept itself would be -8. So if we were finding the x-intercepts, so if you were to graph this, you could plot your two x-intercepts and physically count until you got to the middle of 0 and 8, but algebraically to find the x value of your vertex, which is the axis of symmetry, you would take 0 plus -8 and divide by 2. Don't need to type that in your calculator. 0 plus -8 is -8 over 2 is -4. So the axis of symmetry would be through -4. So go ahead and try the other two. They give you the x-intercepts essentially. You just pull them right out and then algebraically find the average of them or the middle of them where that axis of symmetry would be. We do still want you guys to be able to graph one of them. So let's look at number 4. Y equals -x plus 1 times x minus 5. So the x-intercepts are going to be -1, 0 and +5, 0. So if we're trying to find the axis of symmetry, it's just going to go through the x value of our vertex. So let's find that x value of our vertex. So let's do -1 plus 5 over 2. So that becomes 4 over 2, which is 2. And then we need to find y. So we're just going to plug it right in to this original equation so that we can find what our y is. So y equals, or is going to be -2 plus 1 times 2 minus 5. So you could distribute that negative in there, but what happens is that negative is really just a -1 times 3 times -3. So y is 9. So our vertex is 2, 9. We said our x-intercepts are -1, 0, and 5, 0. And since our vertex is 2, 9, that means our axis of symmetry goes through 2. So if you guys would have plotted your x-intercepts first, so -1, 0, and 5, 0, you may have been able to see if you count, so 1, 1, 2, 2, the middle you can kind of see is 2. But we found that algebraically by adding -1 plus 5 and dividing by 2, getting the middle. But after we got our x value to be 2, whether algebraically or visually, you still plug it into that equation, and then we got 9 to be the y value. So that's where that axis of symmetry would be, that symmetrical line dividing your parabola. And so for this problem, once you plot your two x-intercepts, and then you plot your vertex, once you find it, you have your 3 points and you can draw your parabola. For number 5, it says, suppose the path of a football is modeled by the equation negative 0.025x times x minus 50. Well, you might not notice or recognize it, but it is in intercept form. If I just add an extra set of parentheses, which doesn't change anything, it's still 0.025x, 0.025 times x minus 50. Then you can see the 2 sets of parentheses, and then it asks us what's the maximum height of the football. Well, we're trying to find that height right there. And again, maximum is really just vertex. Minimum, maximum, it's really just the vertex. But we have to find the y value of that to get what the height is. So we have to find the x first and then plug that in to get the y. So your 2 x-intercepts are 0, 0, and x minus 50, 50. So if we find our x value, x equals 0 plus 50 over 2. So 0 plus 50 is 50 divided by 2. So our x value is 25. And if you think about it, you guys know what is in the middle of 0 and 50? 25. So then we just plug that x value back in to get the y. So negative 0.025 times 25 times 25 minus 50. So when you plug that back in, you get 15.62. So what would the height of the football be? And considering they don't give us a unit of measure in here, we're going to say 15.62 yards. We're going to say that was 50 yards and 0 yards. So height of 15.62 yards. Having some technical difficulties there. So just remember, don't let the applications or the word problem scare you. If it gives you the equation already, you're good to go. Just understand that if it says find the maximum or minimum in any equation, it's really just asking, hey, what's the vertex?